Now, here in Paris, the French multinational Lafarge is on trial today, accused of paying the Islamic State group and other jihadists protection money to stop its factories from being targeted during the Syrian civil war. In the US, the French firm has already pleaded guilty of conspiring to provide material support to terrorist organisations and agreed to pay a huge fine in what was the first such case of a charge against a corporation. Now, here in France, the company could face a fine of up to 1.2 million euros if found guilty of funding terrorism, and much more if it's found to have breached sanctions. Joining me now is Cannelle Lavite, a co-director of Business and Human Rights Program at the European Centre for Constitutional and Human Rights. Thank you so much for your time. Why is this trial considered to be so important?
Well, it is indeed a historic trial because it is the first time in France that a company as a legal entity is facing trial for financing of a terrorist enterprise. But also even more, it is the first time that a company is facing this charge for payments that have been made through its subsidiaries abroad. Companies have been enjoying a lot of impunity. Transnational companies, multinational companies have been enjoying impunity, even though they are prioritizing profits over human rights, over the safety of their employees. This is what we can see very clearly in this case. And very often their defense, and this has been one of Lafarge's defense in this trial, is that they could not know what was happening abroad through their subsidiaries and they had no say in it. And for this trial, the judges have come up with an order that refers Lafarge to face financing of a terrorist enterprise, mentioning specifically that Lafarge, as a headquarter in Paris, had the capitalistic control of its subsidiary in Syria, up to 99%, but also that the payments made to three terrorist groups, Al-Nusra, ISIS, and Al-Shaham, for an amount of 5 million euros approximately, have been done with the knowledge and the validation of the corporate executives within the headquarters at Paris.
So how has the company responded to the accusations?
So the company has responding with arguments that we see quite recurringly in those type of cases. It has said, for instance, that the decisions were taken by bad apples, corporate executives that were not representing the interests of the company. But this has also been invalidated by the order of the judges to refer them to trial, because in this order, the judges have noted that the decisions to make those payments to terrorist groups were entirely integrated in the strategy of the mother company, the group Lafarge, but also that they were driven by the interest to maintain the profit and the investment that Lafarge had through its factory in Syria, which corresponded to an investment of 680 million euros that it had made back then in 2010.
What impact could the verdict have on other international corporations?
It could have a huge impact because it is basically sending a strong signal that whether making the argument that they are operating in an armed conflict in order to maintain their commercial activities up and running, or whether they're doing these companies without the knowledge that their actions are going to facilitate the commission of crimes, these are not valid defenses. The Supreme Court in France, in this very case, has already said in a historic ruling that there was no necessity for a company to be found charged for complicity in crimes against humanity, that it shared the intent to commit or to facilitate the commission of international crimes. And in this case, on financing of a terrorist enterprise, what we hope to get from this trial is also a clarification that it doesn't matter if Lafarge did not want that its payment would contribute or facilitate the commission of terrorism acts. What matters is that it knew that its payments could contribute to such crime. And this is a very strong signal sent to multinationals. And another very strong impact that we hope this trial will have is that it will restore the double standards that we've seen very strongly in this case on the lives of Syrian employees and the life of foreign employees. We see in this case that in 2012, the situation in Syria and around the factory of Lafarge subsidiary was extremely tense, extremely violent. Its former employees started to be abducted already in 2012. And at that time, in July 2012, Lafarge decided to evacuate its foreign employees, but it let its local employees continue to work. And it even, as it is said in the criminal inquiry, it has exerted allegedly pressure on its local employees for them to come to work at all costs, despite the risks that these employees were facing as they had to cross checkpoints that were controlled by the Islamic State and other terrorist groups.
Cannelle, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you.